Right. So good evening, everybody, and thank you for joining the session on personal agility. Now, my name is Mary Laniyan. I am based in Kent in the United Kingdom. I am an agilist. I've been working in the agile space now for about 6 years. It's a space I love so much. I love it because of what agile can offer humanity. And as I'm sure you all know, a lot of us give of our time in these spaces. So it is really nice to, have the opportunity to be presenting to you today. So I am just going to share my screen and just give me a second and then we can crack on. So share my screen. And please let me know you can see my screen, please. Let me know you can see my screen.
Yes, we can.
Fantastic. Okay, I am going to crack on. So our topic today is on personal agility, keeping focused in a world of distractions. And I'm sure you would all agree with me that there are a lot of distractions in the world today. So how do we stay focused? How can we leverage our personal agility to stay focused? So the objective is leveraging our capabilities to stay focused on what matters for impact in a world full of distractions. I guess it's a VUCA world, like we say. It is volatile, it is uncertain, it is complex, and it is ambiguous. And I absolutely love this quote, that the illiterate of the 21st century will not be those who cannot read and write, but those who cannot learn, unlearn, and relearn. Because if it's a VUCA world, then that means things are constantly changing. So which means the things we knew yesterday, the capabilities of yesterday, the competencies of yesterday may not serve us today or into the future. So how can we continuously learn, unlearn, and relearn? How can we leverage our personal agility? I'm particularly interested in this definition of personal agility. It says personal agility is about our dynamic capability and how we respond to situations in a timely, innovative, and sustainable way. Now, you would notice that I have an arrow under sustainable, pointing to wicked issues. Now, when we talk about attending to situations, attending to issues, it is important that we can first identify the kind of issues we're dealing with, because it has to be sustainable. Our approach to dealing with those issues have to be sustainable. Otherwise, we will expend our resources. Otherwise, we will not approach those issues and those problems in a resourceful manner. So as you look at this definition for personal agility, it is important that you pay attention to the sustainable aspect of it and the concept of wicked issues. But I'm going to stop there for a moment because you are probably thinking, what do I mean by wicked issues? So if I can just stop there for a moment, have you heard of the term wicked issue before? Can you just respond in the chat, please? Wicked issues. Have you heard? I'm not in presentation mode, that is correct. Okay, thank you. Have you heard of the term wicked issues before? Cynthia said yes. Okay, no. Okay, now it's important that you understand what wicked issues are. Ronke said yes. Okay, now wicked issues are issues that you can never really solve. So for example, poverty is a wicked issue. Terrorism is a wicked issue. And there are so many things that can fall into the category of wicked issue. I can be a wicked issue to somebody. Someone can be a wicked issue to me. So in our relationships, okay, we can have wicked issues. So a husband could be a wicked issue. A wife could be a wicked issue. A son or a daughter could be a wicked issue. Your personal development could be a wicked issue. So you need to identify problems that fall into this category so that you are resourceful in the way you approach solving them. So I just thought I would emphasize on that. Now let's step back into the organizational space. Why do organizations embark on their agile journey? For so many reasons, but most of the time we find a common thread amongst organizations. It could be to increase productivity, speed to market, return on investment. It could be employee engagement. That could be their why. Now, in order for them to start this journey, it all starts with awareness. They have to be in the know, hear it, see it, sense making, make sense of it. Because only then can they be intentional about the actions to take. Only then can they have, can they engage in purposeful action and focus on what to do in order to achieve their why. So when we start talking about achieving, their why, how can they achieve more with what they already have? This takes me to principle number 10. That is the 12 agile principles. Principle number 10, simplicity, the art of maximizing the amount of work not done is essential. Now, perhaps most of us here are already familiar with the, principle number 10, the 4 values and the 12 principles. But I would like to know what your understanding of this principle is. Let me have your responses in the chat, please. How would you interpret principle 10 in your own words? Simplicity, the art of maximizing the amount of work not done. How, in your own words, will you interpret or express this principle? If you can join me in the chat, please, that will be great. What does this principle mean to you? Simplicity, the art of maximizing the amount of work not done is essential. Just waiting for you to respond in the chat if you are familiar with the 12 agile principles. Focus on what gives the most value for the least effort. I absolutely like that. Anyone else? I love that. Anyone else? Simplicity, the art of maximizing the amount of work not done. Perhaps we don't have so many agilists here today. Okay, someone else says, not doing work twice and making the priority value. Absolutely, that is fantastic already. Thank you very much. So when I look at this principle, it means exactly what you have just said there. We usually overcomplicate our lives, tasks, and sometimes we should just go for it. Absolutely. It really is as simple as it looks. Absolutely. And even in the software industry, we have often found ourselves, delivering features that nobody wants to use, over engineering, adding bells and whistles, right? And that just amounts to waste because nobody's using it. So thank you very much for your contribution. Yeah, that's correct. Thank you very much for your contribution. So let's keep it simple. Let us focus on what adds the most value. We can also look at it from the Pareto principle point of view. 80-20, the 20% that gives you the 80% value. So keeping it simple, focusing on what matters the most. Now, why am I talking about this? We've already talked about, what the principle means, but let's look at it from a personal perspective. We've just looked at it from an organizational perspective. How do I leverage my personal agility? Why? Perhaps for my personal development, my professional development. Perhaps I want to end up in a great job, purposeful living and fulfillment, wellness. But again, just like in organizations, it starts with awareness. Awareness, hearing it, seeing it, smelling it, making sense of it. What do I want? What is it exactly that I want in terms of personal development? What do I want when it comes to wellness? What is my goal? And what capabilities do I have? How can I leverage my personal agility to achieve that? Once I'm in that awareness space, then I can be much more intentional so that I can engage with a clear sense of purpose and focus. And now I have to think of principle number 10. Because you see, when organizations are going through their agility journey, they don't necessarily employ more people. Sometimes they even reduce their headcount, okay? So as one person, as Mary, if I want to leverage my personal agility, I want to do more, I'm not going to clone myself. So since I don't have the ability to clone myself because I want to do more, then I really have to apply principle number 10. I really have to, try and do more with what I have, which is just me. So I have to tap into that, prioritization mode and ask myself, what matters the most to me? What results am I looking for? What results do I want to get? What exactly am I aiming for? Keeping it simple. What is that 80-20? I need to apply the Pareto principle here. What is the 20% that can give me that 80% benefit? So as you can see, we can apply the Agile principles to our personal lives as well. So that is so important that we focus on what matters. Now, we cannot possibly talk about agility and not talk about the mind. The mind, the faculty of our consciousness and thoughts. Why? Because where our mind goes, our energy follows. It is the faculty of consciousness, where we think, where we feel, where we make a lot of decisions. Wherever your mind goes, your energy follows. And you might be wondering, what's she going to talk about right now with the BMW? I like to use this example when I really want you to get into the understanding of what I mean when I say where your mind goes, your energy follows. Energy follows thoughts. Now, imagine a situation where you've decided to treat yourself. Maybe you've been working all year long and you suddenly decided, you know what? I've worked hard enough this year. I'm going to treat myself to a yellow BMW. Trust me, once you've decided you're buying yourself a yellow BMW, the moment you step out of your house, you turn left, you're going to see a BMW. You turn right, everywhere you look, you're going to see a yellow BMW because it is now in your consciousness. Can anyone relate to that? I'm going to pause for a minute. Everywhere you look, let me have your reactions in the comments, please. Everywhere you look, you're going to see a yellow BMW. Isn't that funny? The truth is they were always there. The yellow BMWs were always there. Absolutely. They were always there. But it wasn't exactly in your consciousness. It wasn't your goal. You didn't want a yellow BMW 2 years ago or 3 years ago, but you want it now. And because you want it now, you ain't going to have peace until you buy it. You will have no peace until you buy the yellow BMW. So that is why it is so important that, we guard, beg your pardon, our mind, because where our mind goes, our energy follows. So the question is, are we resourceful in our thoughts in terms of how we use our energy? Now, today we're talking about distractions, a lot of distractions around us. Social media. Social media for me is one of the great, in fact, it is the greatest tool of our time. High connectivity. But it's also a double-edged sword, if you like. Paradoxically, it is a very useful tool, but it is one we also have to be very intentional about. It could also be a distraction. It's a great tool, but it's also a very powerful distractor. And we had a crash very recently, 6-hour crash with Facebook, Instagram, and WhatsApp. And the thoughts that came to my mind was that perhaps in those 6 hours that we had the outage, perhaps it was a wake-up call for some of us. Perhaps they used that 6-hour period to do something else, something they probably would not have done if there was no outage. Perhaps people had the light bulb moment and probably realized that, you know what, I need to be much more intentional about how I balance my time on social media. I use social media a lot, but I use it very intentionally. So it's about, having that balance. And it takes me to this quote, and this is a quote I came up with. And it goes like this: if you exhaust your data and learn nothing new online, it can be likened to paying tuition and not attending classes. Because for me, the internet is a university. For me, it is a university, and I have learned a lot. So it's a great tool. It's just about knowing how to balance it. How do we balance the use of the internet, the use of social media? When I started my Agile journey, the social media played, a huge part in my journey. I followed people. I mean, we have this concept of following people today, isn't it? Some follow celebrities, some follow, academicians, whatever. We all go to social media for different reasons. When my journey started, I followed people like, Sally Elata. I followed Mike Kotmeyer. I followed Lisa Atkins because they had so many videos recorded online on YouTube. I kept watching their videos over and over and over again. So there goes the use of social media for you. I used it to educate myself. So it is an amazing tool, but we must be careful. Time is precious. We must waste it wisely, if that makes any sense. Use it wisely, waste it wisely, whatever the case may be. So today we're talking about how we can leverage our personal agility. So let's focus on the solution. Like I said already, energy follows thought when held in focus by sustained attention. So where do you want your energy to go? That's a $1 million question tonight. Where do you want your energy to flow? To the problem or to the solution? I want to believe it is to the solution. So I'm going to take a quick poll right now. Again, can you let me know if, how well do you think you plan your day or week on a scale of 1 to 10? Because like I said before, we start with awareness. How well do you think you plan your day or week on a scale of 1 to 10? So I see a 5, I see a 4, I see 8. 8, that's very good. I see 7, Nelson. Ronke 7, 6. I see another 7. Okay, any more? I see a 4 though. I see a 4, I see a 5. I mean, if you're a 7, you have work to do. If you're an 8, you have work to do. If you're a 6, you have work to do. If you're a 5, you have work to do. If you're a 4, you have even more work to do. So Shahid, thank you for being vulnerable here. Thank you very much. And I'm hoping that you would find some strategies here that you would use to improve your focus and better plan your day. Right, thank you for that. And there is a second poll. The first one is, how well do you think you plan your day/week on a scale of 1 to 10? Thank you for your responses. I think I have a couple more responses there, 6 and 6, okay. Now, how well do you think you execute on your plan for the day or week on a scale of 10? 1 is to plan. The second is to execute on your plan. So again, please, how well do you think you execute on your plan for the day or week? 7, 6, okay. Okay, 6, 6, 6. 8, okay, good numbers there, good numbers there. We really do have to be intentional about planning. Now, our plans may change, but we have to plan. Remember, we said it's a VUCA world. Things are constantly changing, okay? But we have to be responsive to those changes and plan accordingly and try to execute. But how do we execute? We'll see that in a minute. Now, back to our mind. Self-talk is the most powerful hack. We often hear about hackathons, DevOps hackathons, different types of hackathons, programming hackathons. But I tell you, self-talk is the most powerful hack. And I also love this quote. If you think you can, or you think you can't, you are probably right. This is from Henry Ford. It is amazing how powerful our mind is. How very powerful. I don't know if this happens to you. There are times when I feel, you know what, I'm tired. I can't do this, but I have a deadline looming or whatever. And I only have to say to myself, Mary, you can do this. You've got this. And sometimes I stand in front of the mirror. I stand in front of the mirror and I just have a conference with myself. There is nothing like self-talk. It is the most powerful hack. Somehow the energy just comes from nowhere, just from that powerful, positive self-talk. Who does that? Do you stand in front of the mirror and energize yourself? Again, can you let me know in the chat? Do you stand in front of the mirror? Do you engage in self-talk? Do you, I read the universe. I read The Universe is User-Friendly from a book, Happiness is a Choice. It is a choice. It is a choice. Okay, Andrea said all the time, you self-talk all the time, and you think you're crazy, right? You're not crazy. It's just a powerful thing to do. No, you're not weird at all, Andrea. You're not weird at all. Sometimes, but maybe I should do more often. Yes, we should do it more often. I talk to myself a lot. At one point, I was just thinking to myself, I hope my children don't think I've gone gaga, I talk to myself a lot. Okay, sometimes, but maybe I should do it more. People around me are aware and now they've joined. Absolutely. Absolutely. There is nothing like this, it's the most powerful hack. Self-talk is the most powerful hack. Fantastic. So let's move on. Thank you very much for that. All the time I do it, it gives me the encouragement. Absolutely. Yes, I like that. I love that. Absolutely. Absolutely. Powerful self-talk, positive self-talk. Encourage yourself. Be your own cheerleader. Nothing works better. Be your own cheerleader. That is fantastic. Thank you very much for engaging with me there. Right. So how can we begin to, empower ourselves, get energized, leverage our, capabilities, and move forward with all that we want to achieve? Short circuit those negative self-talk. Short circuit it. What or who unleashes that inner critic? You need to find out what that is. What is it that when you think about it, saps your energy because of the negative critic? It could be something or someone. Give it a name. Give it a name. Is it guilt? Is it envy? Is it jealousy? Is it somebody? Give it a name so that you can have the right emotion around it and attend to that emotion. If not attended to, it will sap your energy and lead to a negative downward spiral. We all know what that feels like. It will lead to a negative downward. I'll look at your comments in a minute. It will lead to a negative downward spiral. So we need to reframe with positive and constructive self-talk. That is how powerful it is to short circuit that negative self-talk. You are your own biggest cheerleader, absolutely, and that is so, so important. And Funke says, does it have the same effect though if you simply think positive self-talk? Funke, I don't quite get that. If you have, if you're thinking negatively, you need to short circuit that if that's what you're saying. Take, for example, you're saying, oh, I feel tired. If you identify that, you can overcome that by positive self-talk to say, you know what, I can do this, I've got this, and that will energize you. Remember what you have done in the past. This is one of the ways in which I energize myself. I remember the things that I have done in the past, and I say to myself, Mary, if you could do it then, you can do it now. I feel negative thoughts harm more because if you don't believe in yourself, who will? Absolutely, who will? So let's move on. And then it's important that we are specific. What exactly is it that you want to achieve? Be very, very clear. You remember I talked about awareness? If you're aware, you make sense of what it is you want, you can then intentionally engage on what it is you want to achieve. So you have got to be specific. Remember, your energy will follow your mind. It will follow your thoughts. So if you focus on the wrong thing, you're going to be expending your resources on the wrong things. You are going to be expending your resources on the wrong things. So that is why it is important that we are specific. Embrace your imperfections. We are perfectly imperfect. That is how I say it. Don't hold yourself to an impossible standard of achievement or performance. Just start. I mean, sometimes the best of us, we are trying to have everything before we start. Oh, when I have this, oh, when this is in place, and when that is in place. But that is where the agile mindset comes in. Start, learn, unlearn, and relearn. Do not be afraid to fail. Do not be afraid to fail. Just start with the resources that you have. And again, this is where principle number 10 comes in very handy again. You don't have to have all the resources in the world. What exactly is it you want? Narrow it down and then analyze, assess the resources you have that you can start with. Sometimes we want to start a business and we don't even need money. Imagine I'm thinking, oh, I've just lost my job. What am I going to do now? Perhaps all I have to think about are the things I love to do. So for example, if I love to cook, just to use that as an example, which I used to love anyway, I used to really love cooking. I don't love cooking anymore because I loved cooking so much. I opened a restaurant. I had a restaurant for about 9 years. So I think that affected me so much. I hate cooking now. I don't even want to boil water. That is how much I hate cooking now, okay? But let us assume I love cooking still, and I've just lost my job. And I'm thinking, what the hell am I going to do now? Now, if I know how to cook, I could probably put out a flyer and say, do you need a pot of soup or something? Do you need a pot of spaghetti or something? You know, are you too busy? Are you a professional that is too busy to cook for yourself or whatever? And before you know it, I cook for one person, they like it, and then they tell their friend, and then before you know it, I probably have 10 clients I'm cooking for. That didn't cost any money. That just needed me to think of what I could leverage, the capabilities I have that I could leverage to start a business. But sometimes we think we must have everything in place before we start. So start small, learn, inspect, and adapt, okay? And sometimes we may even fail, and it's okay to fail. When we fail, we learn from our failures. That is all that is. It's not the end of the world. We learn from our failures. Just looking at some comments, we learn from our failures. Now, take responsibility. We are human. Like I just said, we will get it wrong sometimes, but when we do fail, it simply means feedback. What have we taken away from that? What are we learning from that? Again, go back and short circuit that inner critic that is negative. Turn your attention and energy toward learning from your mistakes and failures. It's learning, it's feedback. So don't beat yourself up too much. Start small. And going back to the restaurant that, you know, I said I had a restaurant for 9 years. I started from my house. I started from my kitchen. It was a time in my life when I had 4 children. I was working for an amazing company at the time. I had a great job. I was working with British Petroleum at the time as an Oracle DBA. That was a fantastic job. I think that was, what, 20 years ago? But I was just at a point where with 4 children, I wanted to be my own boss. I wanted to be in control of when I worked and when I didn't work, because being a mother of 4, that's a lot. So I had to think, what can I do? I mean, why I ended up with a restaurant, I don't know, but it was hard work. But I started from home. I started small. I didn't have all the money in the world. I started small. And before I knew what was happening, I had a restaurant. And it was a great restaurant for the period it lasted. It has changed hands now. because I prefer the space. It was something I did for about 9 years. It wasn't something I was going to do for the rest of my life because I actually love being in this intellectual space. This is my forte. Okay, this is my forte. So we need to know what we love to do. We need to know what we have the capacity to do. For me, training, coaching, empowering people, sharing knowledge is something I never get tired of doing. I don't see myself getting tired of doing it. So you have to identify what doesn't feel like work for you so that you can leverage that and run with it. So now talking about taking responsibility, planning, starting small, it's important that we visualize our plans. It is extremely important that we visualize it. I mean, on this side of, where I'm talking to you from right now, I have a Kanban on my board. I have a Kanban to this side of me, so that it's visual. My clients, my appointments, everything is on there. The things I want to do for myself personally, it's on the board here. I also have it on a digital board. So whichever one works for you. If you want a Kanban board on your wall, go ahead and do that. If a digital board works better for you, go ahead and do that. Because when it is visual, when we can see it, we are reminded of it. We are reminded of it and we are able to prioritize, remember 80-20? So by looking at all the things you have to do, you can prioritize and say, okay, what's the most important thing for me to do? Put them at the top and get them to done. And there's just this feeling when you get things to done. When you have planned to do things and, it's in progress and then it eventually gets to done, there's that excitement of, yes, I've done it now. You clap for yourself, so to speak. So that's energized feeling to see that your work is progressing and it is getting to done. Who can relate to that? Who uses it? Do you use a personal Kanban? Do you do the same? I'm looking at the comments here. Accept the change and work to gain leverage from it. Absolutely. Think like a deer being chased, and you have to adapt the changes and accept the situation each and every time you're being chased. Absolutely. You really have to adapt. So can you relate? Do you use a personal Kanban? Do you visualize your work? Okay, Andrea says Trello. Trello is another good one. There's kanbanflow.com, there's Trello. There are just so many these days. Too many to choose from. There's Asana also. Yes, Kanban on the wall. Absolutely, that is fantastic. That is fantastic. So if you're not already visualizing your work, just create a simple Kanban board for yourself. To do, in progress, done. And you'll be surprised how better organized you can become. So this is a very, simple technique you can apply to get better organized and get more things done. So we're slowly coming to the end of my presentation, and then we can go to question and answer. I'll stop sharing the screen shortly. Now we need to retrospect frequently, ask ourselves questions. What really matters to me? What really matters to me? Did I, finish everything I wanted to do last week? What did I do last week? Did I finish it? Look at your Kanban board. What did you plan to do? What did you actually do? The things you didn't do, why? Who can help you? I like that one in particular. We must be able to go out there and ask for help. There must be somebody in your network that can help you. And this is what I love so much about the Agile space. It's such a welcoming space. It's a space where we love to share knowledge. I mean, look at what Scott has done organizing this conference, where we can all come together. I volunteered to run this session. I attended 2 sessions earlier on today. It is amazing. There's always something to learn. We're learning from each other. So there's always help out there. Google is another great help. I love Google and YouTube. I've used them a lot in my career. Consult Google, consult YouTube, and if need be, consult someone in your network. There are always answers out there. And like I said before, the internet is a huge resource. It's a university as far as I'm concerned. So these questions are very useful. What could I do this week? What was I supposed to do last week that I didn't do? Why didn't I do it? What were the blockers? What were the impediments? Attend to them, okay? So that you can move forward. What is important? What is urgent? What do I want to get done now? Again, 80-20. Always think of that principle number 10. 80-20 Pareto principle. What is the 20% I can do now that can give me that 80% benefit. This is where I'm going to stop. Thank you very much for listening. And I'm going to stop sharing my screen, and then we can have some question and answer session. How was that? Any questions? Please feel free to unmute yourself, use your camera. It seems I'm the only one showing my face. Join me.
And what a beautiful face it is.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. So how was that presentation? What contributions do you want to make, or what questions do you have? I can see Nenad.
Yes, that's correct. Nice job.
Thank you.
Presentation was amazing. Thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. I don't necessarily have a question. Maybe it is a question. So basically, one of the other hosts told me to not sell short myself and try to look for internship or volunteer positions as a Scrum Master. But what I came across is that every single job that I apply is looking for some kind of skills that are not necessarily human skills that you actually do need to have for this kind of role. Everybody is focusing on how can I say, technical skills, and I don't have a opportunity to even get interview. Like, it's just straight no, if that, like, there's, you know, often there is no answer, even answer to my application. So thinking about what you said, you know, think positive and, you know, do the you know, mantra and stuff. How do
I heard you correctly, you're job hunting, is that it?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm hunting for a job, but like, it's not any kind of job. I actually want to stay focused on trying to get something that I want to do. You know,
and what is that something? What is that something? Is it a role in the Agile space?
It's a role in the Agile space. I actually want to become a Scrum Master. Way before I heard about Scrum Master role, my mentor told me, he did like a talent assessment with me, and he said to me, like, you are a servant leader by nature. I had no idea. I mean, that was so funny story. And then that's when I heard about Scrum Master and what is Scrum Master role and what Scrum Master does. So I took certificate, and at the time I was working I was working in the car industry as a salesman. And now I want to stay focused on that job and that position, instead of saying, okay, I can do this too, or I can do that, but, you know, if I'm not passionate about. So who do I blame? Like, you know, how do I blame myself for not putting even more good thoughts into that?
Okay.
Yeah.
Now you're currently working in sales, right?
No, right now I don't have a job. Right now I'm between jobs.
When did you do the certification in Scrum? In Scrum?
Last year.
Last year, okay. Because here's the thing, and you're totally right. A lot of organizations looking for Scrum Masters, they're looking for people with experience, and it can be quite annoying that organizations are not giving people the opportunity to come in and learn, like, you know, junior Scrum roles. What I would like to see in the industry today are entry positions for like junior Scrum Masters. I hardly see those. I've seen it only maybe twice in the last 5 years, where it, you know, a role was actually advertised as a junior Scrum Master role, in which case, I mean, perhaps your Scrum Master certification and the years of experience you've had might just ease you into that kind of role. So what I would suggest you do, you've already started it, which is attending webinars like this. Because what I would say is, I'll say link up with me on LinkedIn, because I actually help people in their, Scrum journey. So link up with me and we can take this conversation offline. Okay, Nenad? Yeah, we can take it offline. But I do feel your pain. But if you do get any job, in the meantime, what you can then do is start applying the agile skills you have in that job.
That's what I did. I was working I was working in a construction industry, after car industry, and I got the job as a part of it was project management. I was having more of a Scrum Master approach to that. Working as a team, even though, like they consider me as a manager, which I told them, like, I'm not your boss, like I'm here with you we are here as a team, working for, and my bosses at the time, they didn't know that I'm actually applying all of that. And even with that, a little bit of experience and approaching people online saying, I am willing to accept even internship. Like, you don't have to pay me. Have me there, I want to learn, I want to improve myself, and we'll go from there. Like, if you don't like me, that's fine, but like, if you don't invite me even for an interview, how do you know anything about me?
Exactly.
We think you're not good for this role. How do you know that? Yeah, that's your opinion, I disagree with that. And
it is a tough one, but you will eventually get there. As long as you keep improving yourself, you keep attending webinars like this to improve your knowledge, to be in a network of agilists, you will eventually learn more, and eventually something will happen. I have personally helped about 9 people become Scrum Masters. I train them, I coach them, and I help them into those roles. So make sure you link up with me on LinkedIn, okay?
Okay.
Okay.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much. Sorry, I don't want to.
No, that's fine.
It's to be about me.
Any other questions at all? I'm happy to take any questions. We talked about wicked problems when I started. It's so important that you identify wicked problems so that you are resourceful in the way you approach wicked problems, so that we don't let wicked issues consume us. That is very, very important when we're talking about leveraging our personal agility. Alberto, I see you're here. Any questions? Marcia, Lufunke, nice to have you all here. I don't want to keep you any longer than necessary if you don't have any questions or comments. I don't see any hands up.
Yeah, thanks, Mary. It's a good session. I enjoyed it. Yeah, no questions from me. Yeah, thanks.
Thank you very much. And connect with me on LinkedIn. I also have a show every Sunday. Perhaps some of you know about the show already. Some of you who are connected with me. It's called Sincerely Agile with Mary. Sincerely Agile with Mary. Although I'm taking a break, I'm going to start again in November. So by all means, connect with me and you will find my show going live on YouTube and on LinkedIn. We tend to talk about different topics all the time. It will be great to have you. I think this is where we draw the curtain. Okay, and link up with each other by all means as well. Link up with each other. Thank you all so much. Thank you for listening. Thank you. I'm grateful.
Thank you, Mary.
Bye-bye. Thank you. Bye-bye. Thank you, Louise. Thank you very much. Thank you, Yemi.
Thank you. Bye-bye, Mary.
Thank you. Thank you very
Bye.
much.
Thank you. It was
Thank
nice
you so much. I really appreciate it. You guys have a great
really
day.
nice session. Thank you.
Thanks for the session.
My pleasure.
Bye.
Then I'd make sure you link up with me so that I can have that conversation with you. Okay?
Will do. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
I'm going to stop recording now. Okay.